His arm flexed easily under a huge double-edged blade that even Damien would have been hard-pressed to wield. His black hair was pulled into a ruthlessly tight queue, and his dark eyes flashed with an eerie glow in the misty gray light of morning. And finally, beyond Gabriel, solemn and watchful, sat Dragon, goddess blessed and unique, even in a world where magic filled the very air they breathed. Muscles bunched in powerful shoulders as he kicked his feet loose of stirrups bare seconds before wings sprouted from his back to rise high over his head. Wings that were leathery and taloned, like those of the dragons he'd been named after. In a few seconds, the horns would call the advance. Dragon's great wings would beat the air, and he would take to the skies, one of Nico's greatest weapons, and very nearly undefeatable. The first horn sounded in unison when Nico's banner rose high. He lifted his hand, prepared to write his challenge to Sotiris on the skies above the battlefield for all to see. But his senses screamed a warning in the very seconds before he cast the spell. His hand dropped, and his gaze sharpened when he scanned the enemy's position, looking for whatever it was that had struck his magical awareness like a blacksmith's hammer on forged steel. He saw it then, a spell flowing over the battlefield in a massive wave of sorceress energy, a sickly glow crawling unheeded and with no effect over Sotiris's troops, only to pick up speed when it hit the empty field between their forces. Alarm sounded in Nico's mind when he tried and failed to discern the purpose or possible effects of the spell, growing louder when the wave dipped to the ground and narrowed as it drew closer to his own forces. Spurring his mount forward, he rode out to confront the attack, for there was no doubt as to what this was, and sent a roiling blast of his own magic to meet the sickly wave. Beware! He sent them in a warning to his 4 warriors, when the weapon's target became clear to him, and cast a defensive shield in the wave's path, all the while struggling to discern the nature of Sotiris's spell. The 2 of them had fought multiple times over the years, but nothing the bastard had cast before had tasted precisely like this. There was something different, something that wasn't Sotiris. It didn't make sense. But everything Nico knew of magic and sorcery, everything he'd read or learned from others, was telling him someone else had either designed or powered this weapon. But how? There were no sorcerers left in this world who could compare to Nico and Sotiris. They'd all been defeated or killed in years past, and not only by Sotiris. Nico's thoughts were speeding like fingers flicking pages, searching for an answer. But it was already too late. The wave was nearly upon them, and he couldn't destroy it, not with what he knew. His only chance was to block it, to hold the damnable thing at bay until its power drained away, used up by its own struggles to break through Nico's shield. Abandoning his horse, he stepped back until he stood before the line of mounted warriors, then grabbed hold of his sorcery and cast the strongest, most powerful shield he'd ever devised, raising it to the same height that the encroaching energy wave had achieved in skating over Sotiris's forces. Nico had cast this shield spell enough times that even with the extra protection specific to this attack, he would still have enough power left to sustain a renewed attack of sorcery against Sotiris, and come out victorious. Nico widened his stance when the destructive wave was only feet away, bracing body and mind for the collision. He still didn't know what this weapon was, or what it would do. He only knew he had to kill it, had to stop this unknown threat from striking his brothers. He was the only one who could. The energy wave stuttered when it hit his shield, and a surge of triumph had Nico throwing back his head, a shout of victory poised to roar from his throat. But his shout became a horrified cry when Sotiris's spell passed through his own, as if they belonged together, as if they'd been designed by the same sorcerer. But that was impossible, wasn't it? Nico spun, his mind racing as he fought to comprehend what had happened, to decide what to do next, how to save his brothers. But he'd no sooner had the thought than Dragon disappeared, going from physical to ephemeral, to wisp on the wind in the space of a breath. Nico shouted in denial and prepared to defend Gabriel, who sat next to him, with rage roaring from his throat and darkening his face, while he searched for an enemy that no one could